So we're making a little collar for Theo. So our first step is we're going to put some really nice crease lines. So we're using a 3mm crease here. So what we're going to do here is get it heated up. So generally speaking, once it's cold, you need about 10 seconds to get it going. And a little tip that I learned was, if you put it near your lips, you feel the heat, then you know it's good to go. So right now I can't feel it. A little bit of warmth there. And so when we do this, so it starts there, and you want to keep a nice steady hand and even pressure the whole way down. And as you go take it off, lift up, push down, heat it up a little bit again. And obviously right now it's hard to see the line, but once it's all finished, it'll pop a lot. Once you put a little bit of a wax coat on there. Alright, so now we're going to do the other side and we'll check back in with you. Next thing we're going to do is take our number 6 edge beveler and just start to round off the edges. So when we're doing this, we're going to do it on both sides and also top and bottom. It's probably hard to see in here. We've got some little mini Dachshunds barking in the background. So little strip there, we turn it around, do the other side, and I'll check back in with you once it's done. I'll try and make sure I do it nice and slow and get one long piece. Alrighty, so the next step, and probably the most consuming step, if you want your edges to be really nice, is spend a lot of time burnishing them. So initially we're going to start off with sandpaper. So we're going to start off at a low grit and around about 240 and probably work all the way up to 2000. So in between each step, using some tokenol, burnish, sand, and repeat that process many times over. So I'll show you the first couple and we'll go from there. Alrighty, so as you can see here, I have my sandpaper box with literally every different grit of sandpaper you can think of. So I've got from 180 all the way up to 3000. I have my burnishing solution, have a little applicator, and also have my Dremel with a nice little wooden bit. This one I actually just got from Ukraine. I really like it. So first step is, we put this on. So really light, so you're just trying to moisten the fibers a little bit. So I'll just move that there so people can see what I'm doing. So just really nice and gentle, not too much. You just want to make sure it's got a little bit of a coat on there. Then from here, so once I've done this, I'm going to take the Dremel and work it in. Now when I'm doing this, I want to make sure the Dremel is on the lowest speed possible. If you do it too high, it will burn the leather. So we just want to work that solution in. Now, I'm not sure if a camera will actually be able to capture it, but as I'm going, you can see a nice little gloss coming out. And literally each layer I do, so sand, burnish, the edges will get smoother and even glossier. This is our first pass done. Then from here, we take our sandpaper. I really like the spongy sandpaper, and here we've got 320 grit. So when you're sanding, you always want to make sure you go on one way. That way you don't bring the grain up. And we're literally stripping it all off, which sounds a little bit counterproductive, but there is method to the madness. And so as I'm doing this, I want to make sure it's really nice and smooth and even, just sanding out any little imperfections I can see. So this side here, it's a little bit fluffier, so I'm just going to keep working that until it smooths out. And the biggest pain in the ass is you have to do this on both sides. So we're going to do one side, then we're going to do the other side. So I've sanded, then I take this again, and you'll notice at this time the solution goes on a lot easier. I don't have to use anywhere near as much or go back. So you can see it's making it really nice and moist. Obviously saying that with a straight face isn't easy. It's all good. Take this, low speed again. Just working it in backwards and forwards. If you come close, you might even be able to see the gloss starting to come in the more I work it in. And you're literally just going backwards and forwards. So you can see on this part here, it's not glossy yet, but the more I go backwards and forwards, it starts to get a real nice gloss. Now, of course, you can do this manually by hand, but when you're making a fair few collars, it starts to take a toll. So if you're making this one collar by hand is cool, but if you're making multiples, then I really do recommend using a Dremel. As that's got a real nice gloss. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get our next sandpaper level up. Alrighty. And we're going to rinse and repeat this process all the way up to 2000 grit. When I get to 2000 grit, I then do it slightly differently. You'll notice every single pass I do this, it gets smoother and smoother. See, now it's getting like a real nice gloss. So each time it gets shinier and shinier. Let me finish this part. Alrighty, so off the camera, I did get a question. Why do I do this so many times? So going all the way from a low grit sand grit up to a high sand grit. The reason why we do that is because every single time we do it, it's no different to cut and polishing a car, yeah? So the finer you go, the more passes you do, the more of it, I guess, shine you're gonna get and a better looking end product. So we're now up to 2000 grit. So as you can see, if you come nice and close, it's got a real nice shine to it, almost like a mirror finish. So we're gonna sand that back again. And you can see not much at all is coming off. But you can see just the grain there, if you look nice and close. Probably hard on camera to capture. So on this step here, instead of using the Dremel, I grab a nice microfiber cloth and I buff it by hand. So initially what happens is it gets tacky, but the more I start to work it in, it then starts to get a real nice shine. But then again, this is same thing, very, very labor intensive. You could just do it with a burnisher, but the end result is worth it. So if I keep on going, you'll start to see it start to pop. So if you have arthritis, I do not recommend this. If you don't want arthritis, I also don't recommend this. If you don't want carpal tunnel, I also don't recommend this. Anything to add to that, Anna? Any other injuries? Now I got my 3000 grit. So here, as you can see, I'm sanding this and nothing at all is coming off. The reason why we do this is I'm going to put a coat of Resolene on. And a really cool tip I learned from Martin is when you go to put your Resolene on, if the edge is already sealed, it's not going to absorb. So here you want to make sure it still absorbs into the leather. So that's that. Then from here, I take my fingertip right here like this. Alrighty, like that there. So I've got the slightest little dab of it there. And I'm just doing real gentle passes. And I do this about 5 times. So I'll go all the way down, one pass. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you come nice and close, it's got a real nice pop now. And the reason why we do that is because we'll take about 30 minutes to dry, but the end result is you want an edge that really pops. Boom. Alrighty, so next step is we want to round off our edges. So we take our little round punch there, put this down here. Then I'm just gonna grab my mallet, little here, boom. Off that one goes, turn it around. Boom. Next step from there is we are going to mark our holes and our slot. So we'll put this in here, right against there. Make sure it's nice and square. Take our little marker. So then we're going to get our little slot punch. This is going to go right here in the center.
Mr. Chris, we said, can we please have a new leader, Mr. Chris? Yes, sir.
Boom. Nice little hole there. And we're going to take our little hole punch. So Didn't get a clean punch on that one. Boom. So I do have a press for this as well, but sometimes you can't be bothered setting it up. So just do it by hand. Good. So next little step is we've got our nice little buckle in there. Alrighty, we've got our little D-ring here as well. We're going to take some nice little double cap rivets. So obviously if it was going on a bigger dog, I'd probably use Chicago screws or tubular rivets. But seeming it's a baby little Dachshund, I'm not too worried about that. Little double cap rivet there. Pressed against the anvil, put our cap on. The only thing that's hard with little dog collars is they're so fiddly. So that's there. Take a little cap. Boom. So it is now compressed in there. I'm very happy with that. Then we slide our little D-ring in. Boom. We then do our next little double cap. There. So that's it. That's not moving. It's very nice there. So now our next step is we need to put our little holes in, put some pecan eye branding, and then Theo's name, of course. So we're doing the letter stamping now. Now, unfortunately, it's going to go over our little creases, but that way the name will also pop as well. So we're making some adjustments, compromises. So you can always keep your previous letter there to line it up. That way you keep your spacing consistent. So keep my little H in there. The trickiest part with these is always making sure you put them back in the correct slot, because then trying to find them later is an absolute nightmare. So just let's come back just a touch. Lucky last letter. H. O. Line that up. Perfect. So we've got our little stamping in there, and we're going to give it a wax and then it'll really pop. Alright, so finishing step is I like to take some atom balm wax. So just a fingertip of it there. Alrighty. And we're going to work it into the leather. Now, I generally find with the atom balm wax that once you first put it on, it does feel a little bit tacky, but once you work it a little bit, it then gets a really nice shine. So we're going to do it on both sides. Also like doing it on the back as well. So as soon as that's on there, alrighty, I'm just going to work in, just put a little bit more on there. Alrighty. So that will dry for a second. I'm just going to grab a little piece of sheepskin. Oh, we've got a little piece of sheepskin here. So we're going to use our sheepskin to buff. So I get a real nice shine with that wax. So I'm not sure if the camera will capture it. The team might be able to see it. So the more I'm going, see how it's getting a real nice shine to it. Like it's really starting to pop. And it also really accentuates our crease lines in there as well. So one of those things, the quicker backwards and forwards, the better. So it's getting a real nice shine to it. And I find it's one of those things, it always looks so much better in real life than it does on camera. So I turn it over, same thing. And what I do, like as you're doing this, you start to get like a little channel in your buffer. So here we go, we've got our little model Theo. There you go, he's got his nice little collar. See, fits very nicely. Meant to be. You gonna say hello to the camera? Oi. Oi.
Hello, camera.
Oi, yeah. Nah. You just want to be free? Yeah? Oh, yeah. And you're very sleepy, aren't you? Yeah, you're very sleepy.